Welcome back, Nabil.
Thank you very much, Bill.
How are you?
Not bad, man. Not bad. How you been?
Good, man. We're doing a risky one. We're outside, but I think the scene is right. We'll see. We'll see what it actually comes out with. Dogs barking, planes going, but I think it's worth the risk this
Can
time.
you hear that plane?
I can. We'll find out if our fellow friends and viewers can or not.
110%. It's done.
Hey, we're all in this together, guys. If I can cop it with us.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Talk
Mad,
to me.
man. I reckon. I reckon we missed the Trump buzz, but I think we're still good to
Of course.
touch on it.
Of course.
I was thinking about it. It's weird how we're all like, yeah, Trump won. Oh wait, I actually haven't asked you. Are you for Trump? Are you what's your take on it?
In my opinion, I don't think it really matters who's president of the United States.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I'm just worried about my mortgage, man.
Yeah, straight out. Do you reckon he can affect the outcome of what happens here?
Look, in all honesty, just following it just lightly, it just feels like the world economy is just way too hard to fix right now. Just with all the things going on.
Yeah.
If these things don't change, trade routes open up again, things like the sanctions on a lot of countries, everybody thinks the sanctions are on Russia, for example, but it affects Europe more than it does Russia. So, these things all come together, and how much things cost us as a country depend on that. So I don't think there's much he can do to change that, not in the short term anyway.
Yeah. My head goes to, I think we've become so wired to watch things. Everything is content, yeah.
Yep.
Especially we can all acknowledge American politics is entertainment, yeah.
Of course.
So yeah, everyone's like, yeah, Trump win, no more trans, blah 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 blah. I reckon we want or need like a bad guy.
Yep.
We need to be entertained. I reckon socially we're all gonna get bored of no bad thing happening. So I
Yep.
think we need. I think we're gonna be a lot because even now after Trump won, yeah, happy. But then I'm just like, yo, what now? Just
Well,
like,
you got to remember, I mean, he's only one man.
Mm.
And the companies and the industries that run the American economy aren't dependent on one man.
Mm.
They're the ones that actually shape policy. They're the ones that shape geopolitics. So one man coming in is going to be told a lot of what is going to happen as opposed to him actually being able to tell them what's going to happen. So he can't just come in and say to, the military, industrial complex, right? Not the garlic industrial complex. Which we'll get onto that a
we'll
bit
get
later.
back to garlic,
Right.
Big garlic, yeah.
They've been affecting everything we see about garlic on the internet, and they're telling us if you rub it on your feet, your eyes work better. So don't trust in big garlic,
Don't trust
okay?
big garlic,
or big
yeah.
pharma. We're talking about the military,
military, yeah.
industrial complex. They're going to tell him what's going to happen. He can't tell $1 trillion industry what's going to happen. So there's going to be a little bit of things that he can affect, but all in all, it doesn't really matter who runs America. They get told mostly what is going to continue happening, and they get a little bit of wiggle room in things that they can affect. Generally speaking, if he can affect at least America's internal economy, its domestic economy, that's better for the whole world. It just means that more funds are going to go back into that as opposed to funding, external wars.
Yeah, I think where Trump won most people's hearts was he was the first to be like, there's a deep state that even as president, they don't let me in.
Yep.
And that's when a lot of people are like, wait, what is he talking about? And I think that's when he won people. It's like, oh, wait, he's one of us. He's one of the people. He's telling us what it's like on the inside.
Yeah. He's a good character like that. But you got to remember, he took $100 million from Mrs. Edelstein, which is the deep state. It's like there's a deep state, and then there's actually another group in there that the industries. What do they call them? They call the establishment.
The establishment.
Establishment is just a whole bunch of people with a lot of money. You get to tell people like Trump what to do. When she donated $100 million to his campaign, it doesn't come for free. There are things she wants to see happen in the world, and he's got to make them happen because he took her money. So technically speaking, he was anti-establishment, deep state, the swamp. I'm going to drain the swamp. And then he surrounds himself with the swamp. I don't think anything changes. At the end of the day, what the consumption is for becoming the president and what actually he can do are two different things. A lot of lobby groups, a lot of influence, a lot of establishment money. They tell every president what to do.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be any different. It might look different because it's not like an old 86-year-old Alzheimer's disease, fucking Parkinson's disease guy like Biden, who was kind of not there for the last year and a half, really.
Bro, with the Biden thing, I specifically remember when Trump and Biden were going against each other. When was that? End of 2016, 2020?
Yeah,
Yeah.
2020.
I
Yep.
remember from then literally saying, and mind you, I had no skin in the game. I don't care about Trump. I was just like a literal outsider observing. They're up there debating. When I'm at work, I used to work in a lot more corporate environment.
Yep.
I'm like, bro, isn't this guy like old? I'm like, he seems senile.
Yep.
And instantly the room was like, what, you prefer Trump? And I'm like, wait, what?
He hates women.
Yeah, but it was, I'm pretty sure it was before that, but there was, or maybe it wasn't, but I remember instantly, and that's what made me like him, was like, oh wait, I'm not allowed to notice something
Yep.
about this.
Yep.
And that was the first time I felt it. So I was baffled to see we went 4 years of getting gaslit, and
Yep.
then only when he was literally drooling on himself on stage, we're like,
Yep.
ah, yeah, we all knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
It's
they
weird,
put,
man.
Then they put the weirdest combination of human being, which they call a Kamala chameleon. She can speak like 60 different dialects of American,
Yeah.
right? And she doesn't know whether she's Indian or whether she's
Yeah.
African.
See, on these conversations, I enjoy it, and we're doing it for content, and
Yep.
it's somewhat relevant. But I get bored hearing about it in a sense that nothing I'm saying, nothing you're saying, you haven't heard before.
Yep.
And this is kind of on a just social level. We're all tapped into the same algorithm. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like when we get into it, you're like, yeah, Kamala. It's just, it feels like everything feels like a performance, and
Yep.
the show's kind of getting old as well.
100%.
But then you can act removed from it, but this thing has real world impacts as well. So maybe it's not just entertainment. We should care about it. But I find myself getting kind of bored, but I find myself having redundant conversations
Yep.
because nothing I'm about to say is new to you.
Well,
And vice
maybe
versa.
not to us, but
But
maybe
even
to a
people
bit of your-
listening, I think people listening will be like, oh, yeah, Kamala does the accent.
Yep.
And I don't know don't know where I'm going with it, but it's interesting that it almost feels like everyone is on a loop and we're all talking, but not saying too much
Yeah.
when it comes to
Yep.
politics specifically.
Well, with politics, it's always been simple. It's just a popularity contest. You know, at the end of the day, it's just like watching a football match. There's going to be a winner,
Yeah.
right? You like him, you like her, but in the end of the day, there's a time limit and someone wins.
Yeah, right.
So to the world now, it's becoming more like they feel like they're the citizens of America because America does make every decision America makes as a country affects the rest of the world. So whether he's the president of the United States, I still see him as the president of Australia too,
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah.
because what he does and what that country does is going to affect the whole world. So, you know, we're watching this popularity content, and that's exactly where they want us to look. They want us
exactly.
to look at the popularity.
Yeah.
But the story doesn't change. Its enemies are the same. Its foreign policy is the same. Its reactions to its allies, friends, or enemies is the same. So then, therefore, does it really matter who's running the country? And another thing, on a domestic level in America, their roads still aren't better. Their healthcare system is still rubbish. Their education system's on the floor.
Yeah.
Everything that's important to them, their infrastructure, is all, and it's expensive. They've got high inflation. So even to their own people, you know, it's not really beneficial to have one or the other. None of these people are going to change anything for the American people.
Yeah.
And if we now are looking at this from the outside, feeling like as if what they do affects us too, which is true, we're also not going to have any benefit. This is all establishment money. And you've got to figure of it like this. Two teams who are fighting for the same market. That's what America is.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what the establishment is. They kind of agree on a lot of things that they all benefit from, but there are fringe industries that, depending on who's in power, get to make more money out of.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Trump wants to end the Ukraine war because it benefits Democrats and their friends,
Yes.
right?
So-
Financially.
So
But he'll go start another war somewhere else.
Trump.
Not necessarily a war, but he'll create a sanction system
Yeah.
that will benefit his friends and
Some
their
form of
industries.
currency to come in, yeah.
So one way or another, they're fighting over a very small piece of what's left of the pie, but the overall pie doesn't change.
Yeah.
That's American politics. It's going to be the same.
Yeah, because a lot of the criticism in obviously Ukraine and Palestine as well is stay in your country. You don't need to be trying to dictate the world
Yep.
itself. But then the kind of democratic argument is America should be a global force of democracy that does have borders that expand past its own borders as well.
Well, it's powerful enough.
Yes.
And it's a world economy.
Is that a solid argument to make the argument that they should be defending Ukraine against whatever your views are of Putin, but Ukraine has chosen to be in line with America? What's wrong with America defending Ukraine so that it can have something on its border to keep its eye on another country?
I think for us, the opposite argument is just as good as the argument itself. So let's look at it like this. What's the alternative? America doesn't get involved in Ukraine. Its citizens don't make any money. People don't get new jobs. So when they release $60 billion worth of funds to Ukraine, that's not money that goes to Ukraine. Ukraine can't use paper to fight Russia. What it means is that they release $60 billion and they give it to all the industries that are in America that make weapons and tell them release weapons to this country for us of the value of $60 billion, which creates more jobs because you've got to replace these weapons. So the alternative is if America doesn't do that, it loses a piece of a pie that it owns
of the pie.
without putting up a fight for it. That's not good. So not being involved then has a snowball effect on so many other things when it comes to domestic politics in America and then the financial world around the world, like the financial system around the world.
Yeah, I understand.
So everyone gets affected. Would we rather, let's just say, let's go back 100 years and say Germany, were they better for the world? And they were literally the America of their time, right? Britain before them, the only people that benefited were the oligarchs and the aristocrats living in Britain. The people were all broke. This is the first time when you have a global empire that's doing global empire stuff and being involved in everything globally within a certain limitation where everyone still gets to kind of win and lose unfairly. I prefer the Americans being involved.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like anyone to die. I don't want anyone to die. I don't want anyone to be bombed.
Yeah.
But if they don't be involved, what's the alternative? Russia getting stronger? And then we have to have some sort of our world be dictated to us by Russian ideology, which I don't think worked. That's why the Soviet Union broke down.
Yeah.
What do we want? Like the British? What are they going to do?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
What do we want from them?
Yeah.
I think that won't be better for the world. Somebody has to be that empire and they have to be involved because the alternative of not being involved means that others that we might not agree with the way they run things will have an effect on our lives. Right now is a time in the world where there's not going to have a world war
Yeah.
and everybody's kind of getting a loss here and a gain here somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's the only time in history, I think, where that dynamic actually exists.
Yeah.
So America's is good for that for that reason.
I get that. How do you square the circle though of like example the Palestinian situation, Israel? Like I kind of apply that same concept, but I think they're still encroaching on the Palestinians where they are. But then we kind of touched on it last time. Was like, and then I had comments on some of the posts saying this is Zionist propaganda. I'm like, wait, what the fuck?
Yep.
The point I was trying to make last time I think is relevant here is which country would you rather live in?
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing you say is almost not an admission, but an agreement that, yeah, the US should be involved. But then what do we do about when it comes to like
The
Israel?
Palestinians.
Yeah, exactly. Because, sorry, just to finish that point,
Yep.
is the fear, like my point is get the fuck out. It's their battle. And I'm assuming that Hamas or the Palestinian group isn't trying to expand further the way the US and Israel are trying to over-expand into other people's country.
Yep.
So for that reason, I see Israel as the aggressor. But then on the other side of that, I would be a lot more comfortable, sorry to say it, living in Israel because it's very similar to us than I would be living in Iran. Do you get where I'm going with that?
You don't know much about living in Iran. We don't know. I mean, in my personal opinion, anywhere in the Middle East is shit to live in unless you're in the Emirate and the Khalij
Yes.
type states
Yeah,
or
yeah.
countries. Everywhere else, as a normal nation, it's tough to live there. Even in Israel, they got high inflation, very high unemployment. They've been downgraded 3 times since this war. They don't know whether they're living in bomb shelters every second day,
Yeah.
running in from the air raid sirens. It's not a good place to live. It's a good place from the tourism side of things where they show you people on the beach in bikinis.
Yeah.
But the people living in Israel, they're struggling too.
Yeah, but I still want to make the point clear that I believe Israel is the aggressor. Like they didn't allow the Middle East and the Arabs to become fruitful. Because I remember going to Syria, maybe 15 years ago now. It was just so beautiful, and they're kind of oppressing. They're the aggressor, and then they're like, "Look, these people can't actually develop themselves." It's like, well, fucking maybe if you took your foot off my neck, then I would actually be able to be what we're meant to be as
You
well.
know, because we look at things from a humane, living a normal life, normal human beings, right? When it comes to politics, it's a different ball game, and the rules are completely different, and the egos and the personalities involved in that don't share what you think is bad as bad. It's at the end of the day, you've got power, and other people are trying to take a chunk of that power for themselves out of fear
Yeah,
or out of politics. I mean, politics, just generally, every country, when it has more power, is more safe, right?
yeah,
Because your enemies can't just come in and attack you if you're stronger.
yeah,
And the stronger you can be, the less likely you are to. But then some people tip over the point and they become too strong. Then the
become a
empire has to
tyrant,
break them down because otherwise they're not going to give up power for free. We look at Israel and America as two different countries. They're not.
yeah, yeah,
They're one country. Like if you had an extra state or an extra star on that flag of America, Israel would be one of them. So when you look at it that way, America and its hegemony in the Middle East and its ability to keep that balance of power in the Middle East the way it is needs to be there. Israel is how it's there.
Okay.
And it's not going to let that go because it loses the Middle East to who? Its competitors, which means it loses a chunk of its power.
Yeah,
And now that's in the other hands. And you give them more, they take even more.
yeah.
So you can understand it from that end. I'm
The
not
complexity
justifying
of it.
it.
Yeah, it's just you're saying there's nuance and
From
complexity.
a human
yeah.
being, yeah, us looking at people dying that can't fight back,
Yeah,
it's a lot bigger than that. But we need to stay human because that's the level of life that we live, is that we see people suffering and we say it's unnecessary. But if you go to, and if you were involved in America's establishment and its politics, where they're dealing with Chinese influence, Russian influence, European influence, African influence, they're dealing with so many different types of influences that are all vying for the same pie. To them, it's like, yeah, look, you keep on worrying about the soft stuff because that's what level you are. But for us, 40,000, 50,000 people dying, 500,000 people dying for a gas pipeline through Syria that they don't want, that Turkey helped because it wanted the gas pipeline to go through its country, is fine.
yeah, yeah. Numbers game. Yeah,
The issue they had with the Israel-Palestine thing is that it was just too condensed in a short period of time, the casualties. If this was spread out over 3 or 4 years, no one would have given a shit. But because it was all within 1 year, you have 100,000 people injured. You have 45,000 plus dead, mostly women and children.
Yeah.
All the hospitals bombed, all the schools bombed in one small cluster, which is what, 8 kilometers wide and about 40 kilometers long.
yeah, yeah.
And it's fully enclosed. They've cut off water, power, everything. That kind of intensity is what has brought up it as being an issue. But look at the Syrian crisis, 12 years.
Yeah, right.
Every year, 40, 50,000 died.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
But it was spread out. It wasn't like anyone couldn't move or they couldn't run away from the bombs. That's where I think the mistake is in that particular political move, is that they came for them. They came for the Americans in Israel, and they responded equally as hard. And from our end, it just looks horrific.
yeah, yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, which it is. But to me, I always morally fall back on the idea that you, Israel, cannot make this moral claim and say God has given us this land, because that's ultimately what it comes back to.
That's just the politics.
But that's the point. Is
no one,
you,
no one cares about that.
no, but that is ultimately their justification for being there.
Yeah, well,
That's really what it is, and I cannot like accept that. Basically,
that's for public consumption.
but that's wrong, is my point. So when you go baseline at the end of the
But
day,
that's not what it's for. It's to control oil in the Middle East, which is
exactly
very
right.
important.
Yeah, but that's more to my point of
Yep.
I can't like as much as like yeah, you get information from both ways.
Yep.
I struggle to mentally defend Israel when I know they're the aggressor, full stop. They threw the first stone and said, "Oh, we're meant to be here."
All right,
It's
let's just swap the picture.
Yeah.
Imagine it's the Palestinians that were doing this to the Israelis.
Which is the argument. Yeah.
Would it feel better?
For me,
Yep.
did they invade and
Well, they've
then
got a historical
expand?
claim for the land,
Exactly.
and they've got biblical idea. The same story, but you just got to swap out the Israelis to the Palestinians.
Yeah, so I would completely disagree with that. Yeah.
You would think that the Palestinians don't have a right to that land,
100%. Yeah.
right? That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying the one that has this colonialist expansion, which I thought we were well past.
Yep.
We're civilized humanity. We don't do that. And then now 2024, we're still experiencing things we shunned in like 1788 in
Yep.
Australia. These are the things we said we never do again. But for some reason, against the Palestinians,
Well, there was no
it's
more
all right.
land. There was no more land to do it to.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Like they took
Except that.
they
Yeah.
took all the good ones.
Yeah,
They're like, we're gonna stop now.
yeah, yeah.
Don't
yeah.
do that. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing is like I said, the Israel-Palestinian conflict has got nothing to do with biblical beliefs. That's to be sold, like I said, to the public. The actual real reasons, if there was not that much oil in the Middle East left, America would drop Israel very quickly.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's not important anymore.
yeah,
At the moment, it is. It ensures that they can control global oil prices. It can ensure that oil price deliveries continue to flow out of the Middle East, which are using the American dollar, which bolsters the American dollar greatly, and it allows it to be that hegemon that it is. You take away Israel, Iran attacks Saudi Arabia. It's much more powerful than it. Turkey all of a sudden wants to take over Syria. Now you have disruption. Now you've got oil prices $15 at the barrels per litre.
Yeah, well.
Nobody wants that. So reality is that it's there for a reason, and most of the world seems to agree that having a completely outside power sitting in the middle, keeping everybody kind of well behaved, has been good for at least the last 75 years when it comes to energy and money.
Yeah, right.
If that was, as long as that oil's there, that's going to continue to be there. I don't care if Israel gets destroyed, America will go sit there. It's not letting that part of the world,
It's extension, basically, yeah.
be out of its control and in its adversary's control. So it's going to fight tooth and nail. It'll go to World War for it.
Yeah.
It's that important. Europe agrees. Europe doesn't have its own energy. So what it does is that if that happens there, Europe's failed as a continent. It doesn't produce its own oil
Yeah, yeah.
or its heating needs or energy, anything. So technically speaking, it's bad from our perspective, and it is bad. It's just bad. Anyone that dies
No
unnecessarily
good.
is bad.
Yeah.
But if you want to think that one little thing, kind of thinking further than than just us and how we feel, know that these geopolitic think tanks, governments, and establishments don't care how anybody feels.
Yeah, yeah.
They've got a power that they have to protect and uphold, and without them being with their foot on it all the way, they lose every time. So they're not going to lose.
That's why we're not politicians.
Yeah, that's because we're humans and we care about humans.
Bro,
These people don't care about any of that. They care about power.
Unironically, I was wondering, how does someone become mayor of their council?
It's just
Asking for a friend.
they don't do anything.
They don't do anything. They're not a
It's
personality,
symbolic.
but because I remember someone going, "We don't have a Trump figure like in Australia."
Yep.
I'm like, what would that actually look like? It would be someone in politics who's got like a persona, basically. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I fucking get into my local?
It's all
council?
symbolic. The guy's not allowed to make any decisions. He's just told to go cut a ribbon, break a glass,
know,
or pop
I
a
know.
champagne bottle. That's his job.
They're called CEOs now. I found out.
Yeah, literally. He's just a guy that they need as a face, that there's a person in charge of this or something. you
Yeah.
know?
Right. Right. But yeah, man, interesting stuff.
Well, that's what's going on in the world, and I think, look, that's not going to change whether you got Trump, Biden, Harris, or anybody.
Mm.
If they really hate somebody, they'll make him president of the United States when they're about to do something really, really stupid, and that's why they put Biden there for 4 years.
Yeah, yeah.
This time around, they couldn't rig the systems. There was no COVID,
Hard.
right? So they put a guy who doesn't know. He's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna send them the bombs, and we're gonna defeat Medicare.
We're like, yes.
Who are you fighting again?
Yeah, man. No, it's yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. That's my cat.
That is your cat.
Yeah.
Are you into astronomy?
Well, I mean, I used to be. Is there anything new?
There is a pretty interesting thing. Do you know your star sign, or do you follow that at
Yeah,
all?
of course.
Well, really, I would not have expected that from you.
Well,
Actually,
I'm a Libra, man.
I thought you were a strong
First decant.
First what?
The first decant.
Decant.
The first third of Libra.
Decant.
Yeah.
Decant.
Yeah.
What's a decant?
Well, it determines which part of the star sign affects you.
Oh,
So if you're in the first,
like moon is in fucking Mercury or some
we've
shit.
got 30 days, and they're divided kind of like in thirds.
Yeah, right.
And you either the first decant, second decant, or third decant. The third decant are the ones that are closer to the next star sign.
You're in it, bro. This
Yeah.
was the right question to
Yeah,
ask.
so I mean, I know a little bit, you know.
No,
but I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. If I knew, I wouldn't have bought that fucking those pants last week that ripped.
Wait, the ones that had
I would have predicted that. I would have predicted this cut on my finger.
What's the Leo?
Libra.
What's Libra's characteristics?
Well, they on a personal level, they're very indecisive.
Okay, do you fall under that?
No, I mean internally I do. Not when people are hanging around, I act like I know my
Yeah,
shit.
you seem like you know.
Like, we're gonna do 1, 2, and 3, and I go back. I'm like, fuck, I don't know if
Like, I
even
think I
wanna,
meant 3, 2, and 1.
I don't even want to be involved.
Fair enough.
Or do I? No,
Yeah.
I do. No, I don't.
Yeah, right.
That's the kind of thing that I go through on a personal level. But up front, they're generally just a balance.
Yeah,
You know, they're the balance between everybody else. So they're not good as to be the emperor, but they're good to be the emperor's first advisor.
Oh, right.
You know, they lead from the back, kind of thing.
The emissary is a word.
No, an emissary is someone you send to maybe get their head cut off.
No, it's someone who you put in control of like your processes.
Yeah, maybe, but not by definition, I'm an emissary.
Fair enough.
But it's kind of like a grand vizier, or like your someone you consult with, you know. So you'll be like a minister of something.
yeah.
But yeah, they generally can give you great advice if it's your problem. And they'll be spot on. Like, I can give you advice on how to fix anything.
You have given me advice, yeah.
But most of the people will, if they followed it, they will come to the conclusion that it was good advice. Most people don't follow it because they're other star signs. That's one. And two, we can't give ourselves that advice because we're indecisive. We're like, hey, that sounds good. Oh, no, I don't trust
I
it.
should make money off it.
I don't trust it. So
Yeah,
I'm not going
fine.
to do it. So
It's a good conversation starter. I'm Virgo. I think it's all bullshit, but I can't help but feel linked to the star sign.
well, you're not meant to traditionally get along with Libras if
No?
you live in the same area.
Oh, so you know a bit. Why not? And what
Because
would
I've got 2 Virgo sisters and brothers.
Oh,
mate.
you're kidding me. What would you consider Virgo then? What's your definition?
Look, Virgos just don't really care what they're hearing. They're just going to do what they got in mind anyway.
Wait, all right, that's kind of there. That's kind of there.
It's always, in the end, you realize that they just got to what they wanted to, regardless of good or bad. That's
Wow.
how I see Virgos as. They're not like hard-headed.
Calm, collected, and no,
They'll ask the questions, but if it
they're
doesn't,
not listening.
they'll listen, but they'll still get to what they had in mind regardless.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate
Yeah.
actually.
They-
The reason,
They won't back off.
nah, fuck. All right, you got me. The reason I brought it up, I was listening to a documentary. Do you know Graham Hancock?
No.
So he's basically a historian that's saying history. There's an old civilization that goes before 12,000 BC.
Yeah.
There was a massive.
Oh, yeah, I know
meteorite.
him. He's been
Yeah.
on JR.
Jerry, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was listening to a video of him on Lex, basically saying astronomy. So as the Earth spins, it actually like twists as well, or
Well, it's on an angle.
it's but there's like an even smaller angle
Yeah.
that changes.
It
and-
changes. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but it was the way
Every 12,000 years or something.
the way he said it was, I think it was 25,920. Look that up yourself.
Yep.
But he was pretty much saying over that period, the astronomy star signs are actually, there's always like a north kind of
Yep.
star.
Yep.
And over that period, it basically rotates which one of the astronomy symbols is the one that's on the back of the sun.
Yep.
So over generations,
Yep.
he believes that that was the first kind of identifiable moment that people started tracking time
Yep.
and started tracking things like that.
Yep.
Because it basically rotates,
Yep.
as generation. It's a cycle, he was basically calling it.
Yep.
I don't know. It was pretty interesting that
No, it does. And there's
astronomy
massive
has like
upheavals
yeah.
every 12,000 or so years.
Yeah, so he can like
Major upheavals.
a lot of people mock astronomy, but there's like a
the
deep
poles change.
yes.
The poles change.
I'm aware of that.
That's what actually affects the climate that destroys whatever's on Earth.
It's the electromagnetic field, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, talking absolute shit.
We're
but,
making this up.
No. This is podcast. Podcasts are facts. Yeah, surely you can't
Hey,
go wrong.
do your own research.
Do your own research. It's but the thing with that, I'm pretty sure because I heard there's something called I always get the name wrong. I think it's Carrington event or
Yep.
Carrington event. Have you heard of that?
No, I've heard of the Karen event at the local supermarket. Is it similar?
Yeah, close enough. Actually, yeah,
Someone just
shit's
gets
going
triggered.
on fire. Yeah, basically. But no, that happened. I forgot when it was. 1859,
Yeah.
maybe. Pretty much when the Earth's electromagnetic field is at its low,
Yeah.
the sun's what would you call them? Lashes, or somehow it's affected by the
Yep.
sun. You can Google that event. All the Earth's like telecommunication lines, some of them exploded, like caught on fire.
Yep.
There was like some things weren't plugged into power, and you can communicate. There was
Yep.
basically all this weird shit happening.
What, in the 1500s?
1859, if I'm not mistaken. So
That's-
very recently.
They still didn't have power back then, did they?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty
They still
sure.
were on the candles.
I'm almost certain that was the date, and whatever technology, electronic was there at the time was heavily affected by the
Yeah.
electromagnetic field, which you're talking about. It happens, I think, every 12,000 years. I
Yeah,
was
something
saying.
like that. It's
Yeah.
an event that screw up a lot of stuff. But I mean, we don't know of any other technological age before us. So it could have been tidal waves. It could have been poles might have changed. I mean, they did say that the Saudi Arabian deserts used to be green.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
they used to be green, and a lot of Egypt was green. That's during the pharaohs, which would have been probably about at least 7,000 or 6,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So, that event might have happened during that time, and that became a desert, and somewhere else, like maybe Brazil, became a forest. But it does affect where what the weather's like. At the very least, we know that. Much.
Yeah, I know. I think the fear was because it happens on a cycle.
Yep.
The next one that does happen for us isn't actually we're not ready infrastructure.
Yeah.
Basically to
Yeah.
handle it.
But the funny thing is like they can't even tell you when the first event took place. So the starting point is always going to be a theory.
Yeah, true.
Like, because you need a starting point to know. If you're saying 12,000 years, that means you got to be able to accurately tell us what happened 12,000 years ago, and they can't.
Yeah. If you start
It
hitting,
could have happened 6,000 years ago.
yeah.
So it means we still got 6,000 in the bag, man. Like, let's fucking build it.
We're right.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Yeah, that's like, how do you track prehistory if it's prehistory? Like, if it's pre any form of tracking,
Yep.
just definitionally, how is anyone going to track prehistory?
I think what they do in that case is that they just have whatever the most logical sounding theory is. And they say until we find out a better theory, we'll just all agree on that one.
Yeah, this will
So
be.
everybody throws their lot in and then like, that doesn't sound right. Oh, look, that doesn't sound, this one sounds the best. Let's just
Yeah.
go with that until we find something better.
Has the most like logical coherence, basically.
Yeah,
A to
and I
B.
think that's how half of our history is kind of judged.
Yeah.
Whatever's the most agreed to hypothesis or thesis or whatever. So that's how I think it is. That's why we'll never know. Like they're talking about that. That same guy was talking about that Turkish underground city that they found.
Yeah, Göbekli Tepe, I think.
Tepe, yeah.
Tepe, yeah.
That is like 12,000 years. That predates Egypt.
Yeah.
When it comes to what we know historically about Egypt.
Yeah, right.
So there was a whole bunch of people doing something there,
Yeah, exactly.
and then that got buried somehow.
Which, as I understood it, again, we're just absolutely talking schmack. He said that was like decommissioned. He's like, I used that word intentionally.
Yeah.
Like, as in they intentionally stopped using it for whatever reason.
Yeah,
but that's where my knowledge caps out.
How did it get buried?
Like
Like
it's got all
something
these
happened.
compartments, got all these like
did
rape
they-
dungeons and shit.
Yeah, did they have like excavators? Did they just-
Exactly. Yeah.
So some event took place that no longer was viable for them.
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
We've got the Aztec history and Mayan history.
Mm.
Something happened. Everybody copped herpes at the same time.
Something was going
Right?
on. Yeah.
And they all died. And so that's
Someone
it. That
got
was the end of
diarrhea.
that. The other people never even knew that bloody monument existed. So it got surrounded by forests, like everything does. I mean, I watched this small clip. It was part of a larger documentary, but a segment of it on Netflix was saying that if you were to just not maintain a city for 100 years, how it will almost turn into a jungle.
Oh wow.
And we're talking about structures like the city that you find in New York. If you were just to leave it alone, no one was to live in it for 100 years, it'll have trees growing out of the sides of buildings.
Yeah.
We don't know historically how quick the earth covers up whole civilizations.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just because they've abandoned it, like, oh, it's too cold here, let's just all move. And then along the way, people have got ideas. They're like, oh, man, you were important when we had that establishment, but now you just asked me for bread. You can't tell me what to do. So then they never re-established another, structure anywhere else.
Yeah.
But that same guy, I remember him saying something along the lines of, even the pyramids couldn't have been built by the Egyptians. They're like 50,000 years old.
Yeah.
And so they kind of rocked up and were like, hey, no one's here. And they claimed it.
Yeah.
And then they started expanding on it.
Yeah.
And that's another one of his theories. But once again, we don't even know.
Yeah.
These people were drawing like sideways people while building the greatest bloody buildings in the world. Like they could have at least gone 3D.
Yeah.
Or they could have at least gone like, we're talking Leonardo
Hologram,
DiCaprio.
like give us something.
No, DiCaprio, Leonardo da Vinci, sorry. Something like that. Some Leonardo.
Yeah.
They could have at least drawn something like that. But no, they had we're going to draw things sideways.
Yeah. It was all verbally knowledge passed down. Yeah.
So
But that is something we're losing. Like I know us religiously as well, and just in general, a lot of mentorship happened or knowledge was passed down through mentor student.
Yeah.
A lot of it's
Oral tradition.
and individualized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas now everything's very, maybe just because of population numbers alone, there's too much people to actually get the information done correctly. You have to do it in a group setting or on a bullshit podcast.
But anything you put 10 people on and you teach them it, precisely exactly the same. Same knowledge. When they sit there trying to explain it to someone else, they're going to have different views.
Well,
on
that's
it.
like the Gospels as well, how they all seem to have different like opinions of whether something was like Judas betraying Jesus or something.
Yep.
Some say he did it for money. Some say he did it for like a devil got into him.
Yeah, and there's Gospels that say there was two Judas. There was a disciple that never betrayed anyone, and then there was that Judas that laid them all in.
Yeah, right.
So you got a lot of that happening, and this is why I say, like, in this day and age, because of information and opinions, whatever the original philosophy or ideology of that, any religion, any movement in history that had spirituality involved in it, or even politics,
which were
or even science, it's just as you add more people, you're going to have more opinions, and then you're going to have egos and personalities, and then some people need a point of difference for marketing purposes, and they focus on things, and other people focus on other things, and they clash. And then you have, God knows what the original founder of that religion or whatever it is, that pathway, actually intended. You wouldn't even know.
Yeah, right.
Like I can tell you right now, I don't believe Jesus Christ was walking around saying things that the Jews like to hear.
Correct. I think
Right.
everyone agrees that.
Right? But for some reason, the Old Testament's in the New Testament.
You're losing me.
So he disagreed with a lot of the stuff that the Pharisees and all these other Jewish groups of his time were talking about, and how they were running their own societies.
Yep.
So he was there. He was a troublemaker, basically.
Yeah, a rebel.
But in their eyes, he was a troublemaker, and they accused him of all sorts of things
Yep.
because he was saying things that they didn't like, which meant Take away the fact that he was Jesus. He was just another guy who read the same thing and had a different opinion,
Correct. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they went for him. So what I'm trying to say is if that's Jesus, but his message must have been that strong that his disciples carried it on and it became a religion called Christianity. However, even in that, when you look at the Council of Nicaea, there was probably about 100 to 200 extra gospels that were just thrown out.
Just didn't make the cut.
They just didn't make the
There
cut.
wasn't enough razzle dazzle. We want the
They went with
the
people,
hard hits.
They went with people that didn't even have last names,
Yeah,
like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Look at John who?
John
Why are
Doe.
we following against John?
Yeah.
Like, who's John?
Yeah.
And then you had Paul pop out of nowhere, and he writes half the Bible, and
Yeah.
even the apostles disagree with him.
Yeah,
He
right.
gets called back a few times. He had just a different opinion. So what happened? A small group followed one man. Then they had opinions. Other people got onto the ship. They had different opinions. And now we don't even know if Jesus even wanted us to follow that Christianity. Let's just say if you're a Christian, that way.
Yeah, right.
He obviously wasn't following the rules. That's what got him in trouble.
Yeah.
So how come there's a whole set of rules? I don't think he had enough time in 3 years to establish so much
Yeah.
of the Christian religion, the way it sits now. That all developed after him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Even like, for example, you have, and I don't say this to offend anybody, but let's say Muslims. They were in the desert. In regards to being clean before prayer. You couldn't sleep with your wife and have a bath in the desert.
Yeah.
So you could be traveling for another week without actually being able to pray.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So Islam would have been a lot looser in that time due to circumstances. The message must have been simple and easy to follow. If you now watch YouTube videos...
Sorry, before that, who or why would that offend anyone? What you just
I'm
said.
saying it because I'm speaking about Muslims.
Yeah.
And I don't want to offend Christians either. But
Did
what
you
I'm
say
trying to say
anything
is that
offensive?
Muhammad's message couldn't have been this complicated as what we see today.
Yeah, right.
What complicated it was a whole bunch of scholars, opinions, politics, power, influence. A lot of his message probably doesn't even translate. And he even predicted it by saying that before me, this religion is a stranger, and after me, it will again become a stranger. Meaning he knew the simplicity of his message is going to get complicated at some point.
Over time, yeah.
And that happens everywhere. So this is what happens in the science field, in the religious field, even in democracy. I'm pretty sure when, George Washington was writing the Constitution of America, that he couldn't have allowed for everything that they're arguing about today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they're even saying that there needs to be amendments and they need to change this and they should rip up this part of it. And they're not even following it really. Like if you're in the news now, they can shut you down.
Yeah, right.
That's actually the First Amendment. You got a right to free speech and freedom of press. So how did they lose that? How is it there as a constitutional right and it's just not even been abided?
Yeah, I Googled, does Australia, which is this is the other thing about this information technology era. It's so important to keep books on us because now you could just tweak anything online and you don't know what the thing before it was. You can literally change definitions and no one knows.
Yep.
I looked up, is Australia a free speech country? And it's literally like everything was basically like, technically Australia is not actually made the same commitment to free speech as the US.
It doesn't have it.
But then my brain was like, is this just fucking indoctrination? So that, because I've always said Australia's free speech. We all know, I can't believe it's even a conversation. We know Australia is free speech. But now I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, wait, are we?
It's actually not a law.
I guess not.
You have a right to your own opinion.
Unless it's hateful. I have a lot of hateful fucking opinions. Yeah,
it's very loose.
Got a lot of bad, mean, spiteful opinions.
Yeah.
Like, how is that a crime, though, is a different question.
No, in Australia, you don't have the right to free speech. It's like this.
But wait, is that not an issue that we're just now, like, definitionally, it's not a word, but rolling over, like, and saying, we do have a right to free speech?
No, we don't. What happened is this. It's just like the Bible. The Bible, for like 1,000 years or 1,500 years, no one had a copy of it but the priests.
Yeah.
So they'd read from it and then tell you what it meant. When people started getting copies of the Bible, they were like, oh, that's not what it means. It doesn't even say that here.
Yeah.
Same thing with our rights. Our rights are one thing. And what they told us it was for 100 years is something else. But when push comes to shove and you go to court, you find out.
Yeah.
What you thought was your right is
Yeah.
not actually a right. It was never a right. It was just what you thought was a right.
Yeah, but how much can we drive that? Like, Dad was trying to convince me, and I'm sure he did hear it on the radio, that slippers or barefoot may become a crime to drive in your car.
Yep.
I
No,
Googled it.
it's actually...
No, it's not on Google. I believe that he heard it on the radio, maybe, but
No, but I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to drive with flip-flops on.
no, I Googled it. The 5 links on the top page said
Yep.
it's not actually illegal. So
It's not.
that's just the information I have.
That's what my dad taught me in 1984.
But even that, man, I'm like, the fucking audacity.
Can you drive barefooted?
Look, it's again, just off that Google, it said it's okay.
Okay.
But my point is, who the fuck is another man to tell me what's safe and
Yep.
what isn't in the
Yep.
way I drive?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? There's so many. Like,
That's not about you.
I
It's
would-
about everyone else you
I
can
don't give
kill.
a fuck,
on
bro.
the
I would
road.
100% stand in front of a judge and say, "Fuck you." My toes curl around the pedal, and it makes me actually a lot more sensitive to the steering wheel.
That's fine. Tell that to the family of 5 you just mowed down because your toes missed the... you had sweaty toes that smelt like cheese and they slipped off the brake. And then you tried to fix it and you took out a family of 5 and 6 ducks. They were trying to cross the road. No, seriously, like...
Is that the point? That makes
The
sense.
point is
I do have
that
sweaty
not
feet.
everything you do only affects you. It's like, why are you coming after my toes and my ability to drive barefoot? It's like, it's not about you. It's about everyone else you can kill that's going to come and ask us, why was he wearing shoes with grip on them? Especially if you've got those super cheap auto freaking bolt-ons that you stick on your brake
Yeah,
pad.
right. You've honestly somewhat changed my mind there. I
Yeah.
didn't even consider that.
You got to consider, like, as a
Other people.
government, considering everybody, and they don't always get it right. But in general, like, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I've got a family. If any of them gets hurt because of a barefooted incident, I'm going to be pretty pissed that it's not a law to have shoes on. They're like, yeah, sorry, look, we're sorry for your loss, but you're not going to get paid.
He really doesn't like wearing
He's
shoes.
allowed to be barefooted while driving on a brake pad that has no rubber on it. It's allowed.
All right.
I wouldn't want that. And even another thing is, like, there's a law you can't leave your windows open while unattended. Did you know that?
No.
If you're at the beach, you get out of your car, you leave your window open this much. By law, they can put a fine on your car for leaving your car unattended and unsecured. Hadn't been for about 50 years
Dare I ask you why?
enforced. But a few years ago on the news, a lady left her windows and she got pinged and it was on bloody 7 Nightly News.
Yeah,
She
I
didn't
don't
know it was
believe
a
that.
law because the
Yeah.
law was already there. It's just that it wasn't being enforced.
I'm refuting that, bro. I need
I've
like
seen it.
I don't like. I'm not paying that. I'm just not paying that.
What do you mean? Oh, that fine.
Yeah, I'm just not paying that fine.
Well,
Like that's it's unlawful to make that a law.
it's unlawful to make an insurance claim when you left your car unsecured.
That's a different story though.
The considerations.
That's not a criminal offense though. Is my
Consi-
point. Like,
It's not criminal.
sorry, it's not unlawful. Is what I mean.
Well, it's against the law to leave your windows open with the car unattended.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's illegal to leave your car unlocked unattended.
I don't believe anything you're saying right now.
100%. You know, I seen it on the news. Like, I was watching it.
Can you fact check that? Can you fact check that?
You're looking at yourself in the reflection. He doesn't have an editor yet or a producer, okay? We're working on it. Please like and subscribe and follow so we can make money so we can get an actual person that can fact check
We're
that.
struggling. We are struggling.
We don't use our phones, we use whiskey, okay? Look, all I'm saying is it's actually, I said on 7 News, and I was actually surprised. I was like, what?
But I don't believe that. Sorry, fair enough. But you know, I don't know if you remember. At one point, they were saying people were getting fined for still doing 100 when the freeway lights said 40.
Yep.
That's not true. Multiple times, I didn't give a fuck what the thing says.
The cameras weren't adjusted.
Yeah, I'm just doing 100, and I've not been fined yet. So that's something that's been on the news.
Look.
But I still do-
Just because you got lucky.
No. But you know what's funny? Like, it'll say 40, but I'll do 70 for some reason
Yeah.
because I'm like, obviously I'm
Well,
doing.
30K is over the limit. Is a loss of
Hold on,
license.
I'm doing it safely. Like if there's no cars around
Yeah.
and the only issue is that there's a speed camera above,
Yeah.
then I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm still gonna do like 80. I don't need to drop down to 40 yet
Yeah.
to cop a fine for that. So
People have been competent. You haven't.
I don't believe that's
But
true.
you
is
know,
my
I'll
point.
tell you,
Like,
you said you believe in astrology.
I did
Do you
not.
believe in the universe?
I didn't say I believe
Well, you
in
said you're interested in it. You've looked into it.
It's
You're a
entertaining.
Virgo. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the universe?
Yes, the universe exists.
No, not that. Like the universe has an effect on your
Like fate,
destiny
fate,
to some degree.
bro. I like where you're going.
I'm just gonna make a
No,
single
no, I
point
want
on
you
it.
to
No, send
expand
me a
on
yes
it.
or no
I'd
answer.
rather you expand on it, but I just want to add, like, sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just say karma exists.
Look, the reason I'm like dancing around it is because I think the universe, God, fate, determinism, like whatever binary you're on, whether it's made or it's random or this or that, I genuinely believe it's all the exact same thing because whether you call it fate or not or God,
Yeah.
it's all just going to happen anyway.
Right. So you
And
believe in predestination to a degree,
yes.
with some wiggle room.
Yeah, but I don't add any like razzle dazzle to it. I just
Yeah.
think like I'm just a part of the experience is happening. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now that we've said yes, because that's all you just said, but you tried to like pussyfoot it. All right, I didn't need the whole tango. I just need a yes or no. But anyway, the answer being is that now that you said, believe me, you're going to see this. We're going to have this on the next podcast. Now that you said that so far so good and you've done that with your shirt, the shot clock has begun.
No.
You watch within the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to come a fine for that exact same thing. I said it once when I was like, man, been driving for 10 years, never got caught eating, speeding, doing a red light while driving my car. Thank God. 2 weeks later, I copped a fine for doing an orange. Apparently not allowed to cross an orange.
Amber. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I was brought up in the 80s.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right?
go on,
It's
go
called
on.
orange.
It's orange.
All right.
okay.
And we don't call our sisters and brothers siblings.
Okay.
It's like my sisters and brothers. We weren't that sophisticated.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I copped one for doing an orange light with my phone in my hand. 6 points off the bat.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
Just because I said thank God I haven't copped a fine yet. The shot clock automatically starts. Tink. You look at
Yeah.
the screen and it's already started counting down.
We got another one. Press
So
it.
you're gonna cop it now in a 40 zone. You're gonna be doing 60. You're gonna be like, "Oh, lucky I didn't lose my license.
Yeah,
but I lost
bro.
6 points."
No, that's bang on. I feel like my most spiritual connection to God or the universe
Is when you make a claim.
when I make a claim.
And it gets
Yes,
dick.
honestly, claim. I believe from my heart, God has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I think God has like a slightly dark sense of humor.
Oh well, I mean, we have dark humor. If he's created everything,
I
dark humor
guess-
was one of the creations.
I believe so,
right?
man. So
Yep.
I honestly believe in what you're saying, that I think things fall into place the way that it's like sometimes you couldn't write it yourself, but it's just fucking hilarious.
There's this one angel just waiting.
This one angel, yeah.
I didn't do it. Oh, I didn't do it. Oh,
Yeah,
he got him.
yeah, we
He's like,
got-
flies straight up. He's like, God, he said it. He's like, do it. Next thing you know, you just look at the shot clock, starts counting down.
Sorry, yeah.
You're gonna get that. You know what you got to say? Thank God. And by the way, please don't punish me for saying that.
I'm not saying.
You gotta say something.
Cheers to that. I'm done. So we're gonna have a cigarette break. We're gonna top up, if that's cool,
Bloody oath.
and be right back.
Yeah, here we go. Yes.
And we're back.
Hello. Did you want to talk about how Jake Paul and Mike Tyson teamed up to steal everybody's money?
Yes and no, I guess so. Dude.
All right, because that was the ultimate tag team job that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I guess it's another one of them things. Like even Mike Tyson before it, he's like, I don't care about legacy. Legacy doesn't mean nothing.
Just give me the money.
And as soon as he was talking that shit, I'm like, bro, all right, he's ready to fucking
Yeah.
give it up, basically.
Yeah.
But did you watch it?
I only watched the first 2 rounds and the last round, but I watched a lot of the clips of people doing reviews on it and stuff. I just couldn't go through 8 rounds of bullshit, man.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I was too busy watching stand up. Yeah, basically, look, it was entertainment.
Yeah.
It would have been good if they let Mike Tyson actually fight the way he fights, because
You reckon he could? You don't reckon he's old?
well, that would have been better to prove that if you're a champ, you're a champ, no matter at what age, especially with an amateur kind of semi-professional guy who's making his own boxing matches.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be able to knock that guy out and have your legacy finished at. All the haters came for me, and in the end, Iron Mike,
I'm king.
he's the king.
Yeah.
But to make him lose on points, and yeah, I mean, it was all scripted from what I'm hearing, and it was all a money grab. It kind of took a lot away from. I mean, it was expected that that's the way it would go when you got 55-year-old,
58?
58-year-old
Yeah.
guy who's spitting up blood 2 months earlier from training.
From eating.
But still, in multiple occasions, he could have actually just put one on his chin and taken him out. It would have been a testimony to his style that is unique and unprecedented. No one ever fought like Tyson. No one ever will.
Yeah.
It's the way he's built. But I think he lost a lot of respect. Everyone knew it. I don't think maybe Mike Tyson would have lost much respect. People would have liked to see him do a job on fucking Jake Paul.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it just led to memes now of Jake Paul digging up Muhammad Ali's bones and challenging him to a fight.
Yeah.
now.
And Mike Tyson's ass crack just on screen for some reason.
Yeah. So it's embarrassing. Like, you want to go out as a legend. You lived as a legend, die as a legend. It would have been great.
I think everything's losing its value like that. I don't know. Did you know the Drake Kendrick beef as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like
pedophiles.
all that as well. I feel like everyone. This feels like celebrities' last burst before they know AI takes over.
Yep.
So everyone's just like, this is the they're using whatever currency they have left in the conscious attention to be like, this is all we got. Bang.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So even that Drake fucking Kendrick thing.
But
I'm
that's a pretty
certain that was
serious one.
What,
That's a
the
pretty
Drake
serious
one?
Yeah, because
I reckon that
Drake,
was. I reckon 100% that was staged as well.
absolutely not. I mean, look, they would have agreed to everything except calling him a pedo. You got to remember that last song that Kendrick made, bro. If you listen to the words properly over and over again, which
I haven't even listened. Yeah.
bro, he calls him a certified pedophile.
Yeah.
All right.
But he kind of like, he was talking to that chick 11 from fucking Stranger Things. Like he knows that's the shit he
what's
does.
her name? Friggin' Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown. Millie Bobby Brown.
But that's a big deal. Like that's now on the record that there is a beef where you're hitting him in the one thing that actually is legit. You don't go for the legit stuff. You kind of can't go for the peripherals.
You don't call a fat person fat. You just
No, you can, but if that's his whole world, like, or if that's an actually serious allegation that has, legal ramifications to it, that you stay away from.
yeah, right.
Even if it's staged, you try and keep it on. You're a pussy. You're not a real gangster.
Yeah.
You're not
Rap
like
love,
us.
not
You
real
got
shit.
ghost riders.
Yeah.
You're just a mouthpiece. But these guys hit him with everything, man. Like on that last track that I seen there, man. I actually hate Drake. I reckon Kendrick won this. And I'm like, look, you're Drake. You can have 99% of married women that will leave their husbands for you.
Yeah.
There's no shortage. Why'd you go for
But this is my point.
14-year-old?
This is my point.
Sexting and shit.
Nah, this is what I honestly believe is they're so desperate to be in the conscious attention that even if he is the bad guy, even if Kendrick called him a pedo, I believe he would rather be in everyone's conscious attention in that moment.
Any publicity is good
Any
publicity.
publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
You know how much he gambles on just random shit? Have you seen that from Drake?
Yeah, yeah.
He has like Twitch streams or whatever of just, he's like, oh yeah, I've gambled fucking 500K on this. Like,
Yeah.
I reckon he's so desperate for a dopamine hit that even if he is called pedo, he can say, obviously I'm not. At least people are talking about me.
So it's a clout chaser.
I 100% reckon that was like one of, because me and my mates, we used to love albums, bro. I used to have mates who we wouldn't listen to Kendrick or Drake like alone, and then we'd kick it together and just like analyze the album as well. It used to be a full buzz. Everyone used to be on a music buzz.
Yep.
Music went down, COVID happened, social settings went down, and now AI's in. Bro, my favorite song of Drake's is an AI song with him and The Weeknd.
Yep.
It's a fucking banger, bro.
And none of them made it.
None of them made it. Literally, no. It's just AI.
AI'd 'em.
Just AI, yeah. Everything about it is AI.
Yeah.
I reckon they're genuinely like, this is the last thing we got because we're moving into this new fucking age where just human is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it could be a last ditch money grab.
Yeah. Because what else is he gonna do now? Like, what's their thing? They're just gonna make more music. We need more than that now. We need constant stimulation now. I don't think it's gonna do it.
I don't think you're absolutely right. I think I totally agree with that. I think maybe, but I don't think you'd still go for something that's actually real.
Be incriminated in court.
Like he could have also accused him of getting Triple X Tentacion murdered.
Oh yeah,
because that's also a rumor that he killed him.
I didn't know
he
that
sent some
one.
thugs.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know, man. Look, whether it was staged or not, I wouldn't have used that bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a big deal. So they did, and if they have, we'll never know. These are kind of like NDAs. No one's allowed to talk about what really happened.
Yeah.
I mean, Eminem did it to P Diddy
Yeah,
when
right.
he's like, you
Bro,
know,
what about
hit
Eminem's
that got
fall off?
Pac
Sorry.
killed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he's like, oh, just kidding, Drake. You know I love you. Sorry, Diddy. You know I love you. At the end of his kill shot, a response to MGK's Rap Devil.
Yeah, right.
Right. So yeah, maybe he slipped that in for comical purposes because they're both Endoscope anyway. It's not like they're coming out of different studios. And the same guy that wrote the music wrote it for both.
Yeah, all right.
That writes the actual sound. You know. So yeah, I don't know, man. These can be staged.
Yeah.
But I seriously wouldn't want it on the record that I'm a pedo. I'm not a pedo.
Well,
I was just saying, like in general.
Eminem's like endorsing Kamala Harris and all this shit. And
That's
all these
all
like,
paid. That's all paid promotions.
yeah,
man.
but even that, it's like legacy doesn't matter. It's just about the money right now. Even in that, he completely ruined his name entirely.
I think after you hit a certain level of money, whatever makes you more money becomes right. And I think, you know, when you get to Eminem's 200, 300, whatever millions he's got, to him, another 20 million is more 20 million. And the things that mattered to him when he had 1 million change when he's got 300 million.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, endorsing Kamala Harris, and he knows it doesn't really matter who the hell no one changes Eminem's like name. Like
It is Eminem,
it's just established. Beyonce is not going to go down, not because she made 40 porn videos with P Diddy and. Haven't you heard about that?
No.
Yeah, there's videos circulating all over Hollywood. Apparently, you got to buy them privately only. Celebrities buy them. Of Beyonce doing some weird shit, man. Like that's just been coming out as well ever since this P Diddy scandal.
Yeah, but this is the other thing is anyone can just claim AI now.
Yep.
Because anything I see, I'm like, all right, that's AI.
Yep.
And how many things have you seen? I've seen so many things that are like, did you know like bubble water works in this certain way or something?
Yep.
And it's just some weird shit.
Yep.
And I'm like, wait, is this just something I didn't know about? Or is this now something that I'm consuming, which is actually AI? We can't tell the difference.
You know, the thing is that when you take away, look, AI is going to have a massive influence until they start putting real regulations and brakes on what you can do with AI. Because being in access to everybody's hands, what's going to happen is that it's going to disenfranchise a world population, meaning whether the president of the United States said it or didn't say it doesn't matter anymore. Whether it's fact or fiction, people will be like, stuff it, we don't know, so we don't care.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you can't control people. You need them believing a certain line of anything. And when you have a whole bunch of rubbish floating around, people won't believe anything, which would make them harder to control, harder to kind of like direct.
Yeah.
So AI is going to have its moment until the brakes get put on it. It's going to be something that only governments are going to be allowed to use as opposed to just everyone in the general public because it's just way too damaging on a world scale of how you're able to shift opinions.
Yeah.
Imagine this. You had 4 news outlets. 2 of them were, say, Democrat. 2 of them were Republican. Now with YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all that, you got 10,000 political commentators with their own podcasts.
Yeah, yeah.
So now you're reading, this guy's a little bit of yes and a little bit of no on something, and I like him kind of, but I don't agree with this bit, but this guy kind of does say what I want him to agree with, but he says something. And it's like in the end, you're like, oh, fuck them all.
Yeah, it's just easier.
Because you just don't know. There's no narrative that you can control anymore because there's so many opinionated narratives and paid narratives. And
so
us in between with disenfranchised with both.
So this is an argument for regulating free speech, which is you can't assume that truth always rises to the top.
Absolutely not.
Especially if the information ecology is so muddied the way it is now.
Yep.
That we should actually, to some degree, stop people from spreading, dare I say, misinformation.
No.
We shouldn't stop it?
No.
Okay.
I agree partially with what you just said, but if I've understood it correctly, I would say this. Free speech doesn't affect anybody. That's why they let it happen. AI can affect a lot of people. It's a technology that can reach a lot of people. Free speech, That's your opinion, man. I don't agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can't fundamentally change the position I'm coming from, anything you said is going to be rejected. But with AI, you can play with real information. You can show it.
As truth.
Right. You can show Donald Trump doing something that he never did. And as much as he says, oh, it's all AI, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that want to use this information against him to say, no, it's absolutely real. We've done a fact check. We've done a reverse engineering on it. Look how you can see this bit you can't change. It causes a lot of problems. Free speech, though, I don't think anyone's allowed to go near that. You should be able to say whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Provided that it doesn't defame anybody else. In other words, you can't just make something up about somebody that ruins their life. If that's the case, there's courts for that. But AI is a technology. It's a weapon. And that needs to be highly regulated. I don't care if I'm being manipulated by a government narrative that affects everyone in the country to make us think a certain thing about an adversary or about a policy.
Exactly.
Fine. They're doing that with propaganda anyway.
So how do you discern between, all right, this is a foreign government's propaganda affecting our country, and this is free speech and everyone's allowed to think it? Because if I was a country,
I can't.
But how would, as a country, I'd be like, well, I don't want this foreign country's propaganda in our affecting our people.
It's very simple. It's very simple, but they won't do it. Not yet. But it will eventually happen. Where every country will regulate only what it agrees with to be accessible by its citizens. China does it at the moment. China, it's very difficult to get outside social media inside China. They got their own social media platforms inside the country. Everything else gets filtered through, and they can allow and disallow whole channels, whole establishments from making it even onto their internet. That's an example of what's going to happen with the rest of the world. At some point, I don't agree with it. By the way, what I say is going to happen is different than what I wish would happen. But every country eventually is going to do something of this kind. Australia has already started. They just brought out this new law thing that they're going to be implementing where social media is going to have a 16-year
I saw that.
cap on it. And there's a whole bunch of verifications and things in order for someone to be able to go onto something like TikTok. So they can do it. They just haven't done it because it hasn't affected their society yet. But if it was to affect their society and their ability to control it, they'll just shut off everything foreign.
Yeah. Is that not a means to get angry about? Like, surely it's pretty obvious that that's a digital ID Trojan horse using, we're defending the children as a guise behind it. So that is fucking wild that they're now completely regulating social media, or at least implementing the infrastructure that allows them to force people to
that's the
verify
trick,
themselves.
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
What they tell us it's about has got nothing to do with what it's about. If they say it's for 16-year-olds and younger, but then they're putting the infrastructure that can affect anybody at any time.
Just bump it up to 18.
No. Just bump it up to nothing comes in here without our permission.
Exactly.
Because the infrastructure's there. So what they've slipped in with that bill, we don't know. All we know is what they're putting on our news, that it's about 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time. Like, look at what America did with the Ukraine thing. They're like, we have to release $60 billion to Ukraine. But they slipped in $20 billion to Israel in that same bill. That's not what they were focused on.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right? So, and I think every time policy comes out, you got to look at what else is in that policy that they're not talking about, because that's actually what they're going for. They're not going for the bit they told us. That's like the sugarcoating that makes us think, well, that's a really good thing. I don't want kids, going out in the street and punching each other up on TikTok.
Yeah.
But the actual infrastructure might be that, hey, we don't like what's coming out of China. Bang, turn off China.
Yeah, exactly.
China can't get through.
Yeah.
And, they've been threatening to do this with Facebook, with publishers that are through Facebook, and the monetization of our actual news channels on Facebook. That being on Facebook, being a social, that's a publisher, allows it for me to take a snippet from Channel 7 because it's public and use it in my own video. And they brought this whole thing up 2 years ago before they even started talking about 16-year-olds. That didn't go through. There was a lot of noise about it about 2.5 years ago. Nothing happened. And now this. Maybe it's all linked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's hard because I can almost justify their position,
Yep.
At the end of the day, yes, it should be up to the parents in a household
Yep.
to determine what their kids watch and don't
Yep.
watch. Like it's a parent that should be raising their child. But I 100% agree, law aside,
Yep.
children under 16 should not be on social media.
Yep.
Like even any adult, you shouldn't be posting anything until you hit at least like 25 plus.
Well, until you can legally be held responsible for what you post.
Even older, but 18
Right.
is still a child. You know what I mean?
18 can go to jail. So it means you can legally work with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'd say, yeah, if there's legal ramifications and you got underage people being influenced and you can't really legally go for them, then yeah, it should be of legal age.
Yeah.
Anything of legal age. So you can move out of home at 16. Well, then you should be able to watch whatever you want and do what you want. And if it breaks the law, you will be held accountable.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think it's okay like that. But, you know, technically speaking, even on a country level, if they were to shut off all external social media and only allow us what they think is good for the Australian public, you can make an argument for that too. You can say, well, what's the alternative? Us all starting to think weird, becoming disunified, and then we get taken over without a bullet fired in a way where we're starting to think more like the Russians or we're starting to think more like the Chinese.
Yeah.
And we're starting to agree with them more on things that if our country didn't do them a certain way, it'll affect us.
That's like a lot of people criticizing Britain and everything for the mass migration that's happened there.
Yep.
Because I think I think everyone should be able to agree that even mass legal migration
Yep.
will have a pretty significant impact on a culture and an identity of a nation.
Yep.
So if you're flooding it with whoever it may be that isn't a part of your country, I'm fully against strongly regulating that.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. Look,
'Cause- yeah.
if you were to right now, if I was to say to you, you do not have AIDS,
Okay.
but I'm just going to inject just a little bit of AIDS,
Just a little sprinkle.
just
yeah.
a sprinkle of AIDS into you. Eventually, your whole body will have AIDS,
Yes.
right? And I think when you look at migration, say into even America, their social fabric is being infected, in their opinion, especially to the Republican and the conservatives, by people that don't share their belief system. And they won't even change when they live there. So the only thing they can do is make more of them in that country. They're not there to become Americans. They're just there to benefit from being in America.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they see it as a form of an infection. And a little bit of it is enough to cause enough damage for them.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying an argument can be made for it. Not that I agree or disagree with it, but I'll tell you something. I like living here. I like it the way it is right now. If it's going to get different than this, I might not agree with what different looks like.
Yeah.
So if Australia is doing what it can to keep it just like this is good enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And I guess the inverse of that is like it's pretty rich of us people who have come with our parents have come as immigrants to be like, you know what? After our parents, let's shut the door and not let anyone else in as well. Because we're coming from people who have benefited off the economy of this country as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've changed.
Exactly.
Like you look at us, we've actually become more westernized
Yeah,
in
of
how
course.
we believe and what we do.
Well, my thing is as well is what language do you think in? Mine's English.
Man, I think in Arabic.
Do you think in Arabic?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yep.
You think
I
in
think
Arabic?
in Arabic.
You're joking.
No, I'm not kidding you.
See, to me, that means at your core, you're a lot more Arab than English.
It's just, yeah, well, the filters are different.
That's
Like,
beautiful, but I can't even fathom because I've intentionally tried to think in Arabic and I can.
Yep.
But naturally, my identity is an English
well,
identity.
you haven't read enough Arabic books for you to think in Arabic.
yeah.
You know, the language isn't there, but you've read plenty of English books, so you'd have more of a dominant.
I just speak the
language.
language more. Yeah.
No, you can speak any language you want. I think it's what you've read.
Interesting. Yeah.
If you read, like, say you've read 50 English books, if you had read 100 Arabic books, you'd be thinking in Arabic.
Right. Yeah.
It's just that's how
Isn't
it is.
I thought it would be an identity thing. Like I identify as Australian before I
don't think
identify
so.
as Lebanese.
I think the more what you read is what your eye and ear and your head
Just process.
is constantly seeing on multiple fronts, whereas just talking is just one of those things. So it's not
Yeah.
enough to influence everything. But when you read it, you're seeing it.
Yeah.
You're thinking it. You're thinking about it. then you start be driving and you're actually using that language in your thinking process. So what you read, I think, is how you think.
Yeah. I can't even read anymore, man.
Yeah.
I just can't even hold my attention span for longer than fucking 2 minutes.
Man, it only takes 4 days. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 6 hours. That's how it works.
And you got it all.
Yeah, then you can read for like a whole day and you wouldn't even know. Your leg goes numb. You got blood clots. Your
Yeah.
leg's this big now. Should have moved more. I thought this is a good thing.
At least I can think in Arabic now.
And that's another thing, man. There's nothing good that doesn't come with a sprinkle of bad. Like, imagine this. Is reading good? Yes. Reading for 8 hours? Blood clots. Like, all right. Moderation.
Equilibrium, balance.
Yeah. You should get up and move while you're reading or changing your landscape.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so that's another thing, man. But yeah, like I said, if they do shut off, some things, it's just what the rest of the world will be doing. You know, you got countries like I said, China. A lot of these Eastern European countries don't think that they got access to everything. These like Poland and Slovakia, not Slovakia. I think it's Slovakia. They're not just anything that comes on the internet they got access to. They're accessing their own apps that affect their country. You know, people that are posting from their own country.
Yeah. Yeah.
We in Australia though more Americanized, so we don't even read British stuff. We just kind of go on TikTok for the American shit. I need to get one of these.
Get a swig in ya.
Yeah, so that's what I believe. So what's next?
What's next? Next is I'm editing this out while we light the cigarette.
Well, all right.
Or we leave it in.
Watch this. Don't try this at home if you're under the age of 18. I would never recommend nicotine.
I watched a video.
Oh,
Do you think vape or cigarettes are worse?
look, man, you can't compare. Can't compare them. There's not enough real-time evidence on vapes.
I'd love
make
to
a
know.
fair comparison.
Yeah, I'd love to know how many puffs of a vape is equivalent to one cigarette.
I worked it out. It's less than what you think it is. Because the way vapor and nicotine lands into your lungs, you can build it up pretty quickly as compared to out of a cigarette. And it's unregulated, meaning one drag might be 0.5 milligram, the next drag might be 2 milligrams.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can do it for longer. So that means at the end of the day, if you were to accumulate the amount of nicotine that's gone into your body, you could have saturated yourself more with a vape over a cigarette.
No, I 100% agree, but that's why I'd like to know the 1-for-1 ratio.
Yeah.
Is how many puffs equals that amount.
Yeah. I tried to do like a 1-for-1.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, how many drags do I get out of a cigarette? And then I was
Until
like,
my head
oh,
high.
that's what I'll do with a vape. And it just doesn't work.
Because I honestly reckon vapes are the devil in that, bro, you wake up, when I have bought vapes, wake up, vape. You know how
Yeah.
many people have told me they wake up in maybe 3 in the middle of the night?
Yeah, I used to.
Yeah, middle of the night, wake up and hit the vape.
Yep.
It's
It
crazy.
doesn't annoy anyone.
That's just normal, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in the 80s, they had ashtrays under their bed.
Oh, I guess so.
My mate got caught with an ashtray this big, full of cigarette butts under his bed.
That's disgusting.
And then they said to him, have you been smoking? And he's
No.
like, I don't know how they got there.
Nah, drugs is an interesting one. I like the idea of changing your state of consciousness.
Yeah.
I like that you can kind of enter that, but I don't know. I think because they say weed's not addictive. I don't believe that at all.
No, everything's addictive.
I reckon everything's addictive.
yeah.
Anything that you can use as a form of escape is an addiction, basically.
Even as even if it's a stimulant of any kind, if your body takes it and enjoys it, there's something that gets programmed in. This is something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And so then if you're going to do it from that point on, at some point you're going to be enjoying it more often.
Yeah.
And yeah, it would be addictive because it does have an effect on the brain. It's like there's no way around it.
Yeah.
The way the chemical balance in the brain. But, you know, for me, I'll tell you, there's no better state than just being healthy and just awake. That I've been drunk and I've been sick and I've been through so many different experiences. And in the end, just me feeling normal with no pain and just me being there is enough for me. Yeah, I'll have a drink here and there, But even trying to get drunk is not something that I try to do anymore.
Yeah.
It comes with side effects. Like at some point, if I get drunk, I'm like, oh, this is shit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, I wish I felt better. It's like you've gone past the point, you know? So
With alky as well, I don't know, part of growing up is because when you're younger, you drink and it somewhat numbs you and you do the things you wanted to do anyway.
yeah.
So it's kind of like it's a social lubricant. It lets you do things you wouldn't otherwise.
yeah.
But when you grow up, you're kind of just like,
I could do that shit
I'm
anyway.
doing the things I want to do anyway.
Yeah. You don't have a problem with cold
I don't
approach.
have a problem. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I love dancing. I
Yep.
really love dancing. So even now, without alcohol, obviously it helps. But just
Yep.
dance, move. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You don't need to use that shit to cover up, basically.
No.
But no, it's pretty interesting. It's definitely though.
It does bring down the barriers.
What?
You know, just that, the awkward barriers, drinking, for example. But like I said, you hit a certain age and you're like, I don't need something to dampen that up.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm confident in what I am. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. But like, even with drinking, like, my son's 19. As long as he's responsible, catches an Uber, comes home and he can talk and he's walking straight, we've got nothing to talk about.
Yeah. Well, it's
Like, what's changed? Nothing. So why have a big deal about it?
yeah.
If something's going to change, come home throwing up all over our floorboards,
I've done that multiple times.
right? Now we have a conversation about you being out of control.
Yeah,
And that's a completely different conversation. It's got actually nothing to do with the drink. It's just that what were you thinking to
Yeah.
get yourself in that position?
What are you trying to get away from?
Or what you could have exposed yourself to. Like, you could be drunk, you could get decked. People die because they just didn't know how to get out of a situation early enough because they were too dull to know that there was dangers around them.
Yeah.
Just from that aspect, it's like it opens up a can of worms. But if you just come home, your mate dropped you off, he was a designated driver. You rock up, hey dad, hey, I'm going to bed. How was your night? Great. You want a coffee before I go to bed? Yeah, no worries, make me a latte. He makes you a latte, he's like, good night, bro, and he goes to bed. Like, what have we got to talk
You've
about?
kept in control, yeah.
Like, there's nothing to talk about.
I think that's what it is, really. It's like, have you lost control? Really, is at the point of it. You know, if you're going too far where you're not even there anymore, there's a deeper issue that we should be looking into, basically.
And the risks.
yeah.
You're out of control. You could fall. You can hurt yourself. You can get in trouble. You can say something you're going to regret. You can do something you're going to regret. There's a lot of risks. But having a drink, had a good time, came home, nothing's wrong. I'm not going to do that thing where you preempt.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, you know how we were raised?
Uh-oh.
We were raised like this. You walked wrong, which will lead to you being a smoky, a junkie, a budgie, which is a bikie in Arabic.
Thanks.
All right? And you're going to end up in jail and dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't do anything wrong here. Like, I'm getting crucified for a non-occurrence.
A
like,
non-issue. yeah, exactly.
Like, it's like that, what is it called? That, not Majority Report, what's it called?
No idea.
That movie for Tom Cruise where they got these people that can preempt a crime before it happens.
Yeah, I don't know this. Yeah.
It's called something like something report, right? And like what they do is they'll go and arrest you before you commit the murder.
Oh,
And
there's
they'll
an
try
anime
you,
about this as
And they'll
well.
try you
Yeah.
for before you've even committed it.
Because you have the proclivity to do it.
No, because the guessing machine that they've got and the psychics that work in it
Yeah.
have already preempted that you're going to commit the crime. So you get punished before commit. And when we're getting raised, we're raised like that.
Yeah.
We're raised in that you haven't committed the crime yet. We're going to punish you like you have, so you never do it.
Guilty until proven innocent.
No, it's just guilty. Judge, jury, and executioner was your dad.
With a fat guff behind it.
Guff, they stop hitting you at 4 because it hurts their hand. There's weaponry. They use all sorts of contraptions, and I think they call them utensils.
They call them general kitchen objects.
Disciplinary utensils.
Fuck, you're a different generation, man. I think I've got hit a few times, but it was like phasing out of my generation. But I remember like copping a fucking whack, and mum just felt bad about that after.
Mate, I would be happy if mum ever hit me.
Yeah.
No, I copped the full wrath of the law, which, by the way, was very loose. We didn't know what the law was until you were being convicted of the crime. It's like It's like you broke the window by accident, but now you're being convicted as a person who done it on purpose.
Yeah, there was
Right?
intention.
Breaking windows means broken legs. Found out after the window broke. All right. Or if you put the cup wrong on the table, but then you were told that that's not where you put it because it could get tipped. So they push it into the right position and they tell you, and now you walk off with the wrong body language from the back of your head. That is a threat against the state.
Yeah.
And so then you were then tried and convicted of just undisciplinary rogue-like behavior.
Rightfully so, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Even your mum was like, you deserved it.
She was like, you're on your own in
Yeah,
this
we're
one.
not helping you. I'm just trying to cut tomatoes here. If your dad said you deserve that, you deserved it. And she doesn't know, you don't know which part of your head she's talking to because you had two heads at that time, the bruise and your head. And so what happened? They didn't even want to know. It was over a cup and your body language as you were leaving while being advised.
Fuck. And you know what's funny, actually? I remember as a kid when dad was having his moments, it's like, you don't make eye contact. Look at the floor.
And
Look at the floor.
me when you're talking to
and
me.
then look at me when you're talking to me. And I went to high school and they're like, look at me while I'm talking to you in the principal's office.
You're like, what do I do?
And I'm like, what do I do? Who am I?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a tough, they came from very rough places. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
And they were actually quite kind. My dad once made, God rest his soul. He said, I only hit you because I love you. I was like, maybe a little bit less love would be probably, something.
I love that.
I love a less love. Can you love my brother more, for example? I know you hate him. That's why he never gets hit. Or my sister, who's never been hit.
Like, and you must
I had
hate
middle
her.
child syndrome, all right, where everything happened to me and I was responsible for everybody. So, and that helped make me the person that I'm not.
That I am today.
that I'm not. Because everything I imagined I would be, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger and Van Damme at the same time. So I have to be as muscly as Arnold and as flexible.
Sidekick your legs back.
And then doing that split with the punch in the nuts of the Van Damme punch. I became none of those. I became just your average Joe. Fucking guy, goes to work, comes home. Maybe every now and again I might back. So, they shattered all my dreams.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Nah, different times.
Yeah.
I think we can that's the thing of our generation as well, is we cherry pick
Yep.
the beauty and the values that can
Yep.
work.
Yep.
And I'm leaving a bit behind that that don't really work out too much for me.
Well, I'll tell you something, man. Like every part of it was part of your development. Like the fact that you probably won't hit your kids came off the back of you getting decked.
I didn't say that, but yeah, sure.
But yeah, I'm just saying, like I haven't hit my kids, and there's a reason for it because I got decked.
Yeah.
Also, whenever we have a lecture time, when they do something wrong and you have to lecture them, I keep it under 8 minutes. Because my dad spoke for 3 hours, and I was like, just hit me for another 5. Let's cut out the talk.
There's a point.
The talk is punishing.
There's a point you start looping and you
Yeah.
can't jump in and be like, hey, I heard this part.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't need the lecture, just hit me more. And we call it even Stevens. But it never happened because you got hit for like a good 3 to 8 minutes. And then you got lectured for 3 hours, and it was not forgotten by the third day, which when you got hit again for something else.
Yeah.
Because they brought up the fact that you only got hit 3 days ago and how they're linked. And it's like, am I getting constantly
Oh, I love it,
perpetually
bro.
punished?
Yeah. Or,
know?
or getting hit for crying about getting hit.
Yeah, oh no, that's even worse. Like, it's like after 20 minutes after the 3-hour lecture, it's like, hey, get up and cut the grass. And you might want to forgive me that I'm a bit crippled and my face is mangled. So any expression needs to be kind of watered down because my face isn't exactly what it's supposed to be. But they were like, why does your face look like that?
You are the problem.
So once I was getting chased around this round kitchen table with a chain that was used to lock up motorbikes. But we didn't ever own the motorbike. We just had the diamond cut chain.
There was a chain.
Yeah, it was used for the front gate. And then my dad, within 20 minutes after that, started holding his chest. I'm about to call an ambulance. He's having a heart attack. And I was blamed for being fast and nimble. If I was less fast, that wouldn't have happened. How dare you have such agility?
It's true, but in a fucked up way.
It's true because I was pretty quick. I had learned the art of evasion, and my dad had the ability to hit you from any angle, and it wasn't working.
Bro,
He lost a percent, I gained a percent, and now there's a heart attack involved. If I only got hit 2 minutes earlier, we wouldn't have had the heart attack.
everyone would have been all right.
Yeah.
That reminds me of getting a fucking slippers piffed very accurately at my head.
Yep.
Followed by bring it back on my foot.
You have to return
and you
it.
have to be ready for the second one.
No, there's always an ulterior motive. Because putting a shoe on a foot, you didn't see the ashtray coming. It's like the ultimate sleight of hand. You show them the rabbit, but then you pull a bird out of the, look at this hand, and they hit you with this hand. We had a rule that whoever bought the weapon of choice got hit with it. So they're like, hey, go get me the electricity cable for the stereo. And then they're like, and you know what the rule is? He who brings the weapon must be hit with the weapon.
Thou shalt be
And
hit.
so you knew it was about you. If you got told to go, I remember we had so many weapons hidden behind our washing machine when we were moving from one house to another. And my dad kept on just producing more and more weapons. And every time they'd go out or something, we'd grab the weapon and we'd throw it behind the washing machine. And this all, I was like 16 years old. We were moving to another suburb. We had bought a house in a different suburb. And my dad moved the washing machine. And it was like there was light coming from the back of it. Over 30 weapons that had gone missing. And now he had our whole catch.
Absolute arsenal.
Yeah, he could be very selective. It felt like a serial
Depends on his
killer.
mood,
He'd open up the thing, like pick something up, flick it, put it back down.
Are we nunchucky today? Or are we just going straight
While
bang?
telling you the conversation of what's going to happen next. So yeah, that was also a bad move by us. Even though, like I said, my sister and brother never got hit.
Yeah.
The weapons were made exclusively for me. So think of it this way. You can hit me, you can swear at me, you can do whatever you like to me.
Yeah.
Anything that I went through in my childhood, I can handle as an adult.
Yeah.
It was like, well, I've seen worse than this.
Yeah. I've had the worst. If you've made it this far in this episode.
Oh, yes, sorry. How long have we been going?
No, we've been good. Hitting 2 hours, so we're good. We're good. Yeah, no, I like it.
This is turning JRE, man.
We're planning to have an interview podcast with the main culprit of our generation.
Yes.
The uncle. Some may even call him the Mooch. And
Others do know him as Mo.
yeah.
Because he'll mow you down.
The Devastator.
Yeah. It's going to be exclusively in Arabic, though.
Yeah. So if you have made it, this is exclusive just to you. We're going to have an episode with the main offender of everything we're talking about.
The thing is, like, he is the epitome and the representation of everything we know is wrong. In
how to raise.
what we went through growing up.
He had so much authority that not only could he whack his children,
He can whack your children and you. Have you heard of the Slap 1 and 2? Well, the Slap original happened in a small little backyard in one of our suburbs here in Melbourne.
Heidelberg.
Yes. Anyone who complained as though he was walking through, he was mowing them down.
Yeah.
Moe. They call him Moe, don't worry. No, he's a champion. He's and like we say, he is a full representation of our childhood,
of our culture, of our group identity.
Technically speaking, I'd like to just put this forward. Everyone's been whacked by him, except for me.
Wow,
I was the lucky guy because he knew how much I was getting whacked at home. So he was like, "Look, man, there's a limit."
You know what's funny? And you and my sister, my older sister, for some reason, he would literally bash, skip, bash, bash.
Yep.
I don't know why she got away with everything.
I got away with everything.
But she, I guess, and you, and maybe that's why you two are good. You've just
No, man, I love it, man. I can sit with him for 3 hours and look, it starts off nice. Then it turns personal for some reason. And I don't mean I turned it personal. It just turns personal on me. But if I don't agree, I got problems. And I love that about him because I can handle that because I get to go home after that.
Yeah.
If he was coming home with me, I'd just keep my mouth shut.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
He's
to
a
that
champion.
one.
He's a champion.
But yeah, man, no, I'm good conversation.
Yep.
Very satisfied.
Oh, by the way, that's probably going to be a military geopolitical conversation because he knows what every Middle Eastern leader is thinking right now. And that's going to help us in understanding what the mindset is
Yeah.
of the Middle East and how it operates.
Yeah, I heard he was their strategic advisor back in the day for all countries.
Without ever having met any of the leaders
Yeah.
or government officials.
Yeah, they just felt his aura in his
You know,
intention.
I remember growing up. Look, and I'll just give you this on the way out.
On our outro, yeah.
There'd be 15 uncles and relatives sitting in the same room, and they're all arguing because they all knew what different political figures and politicians were thinking around the world. And they all knew what they were thinking, but they never thought the same thing coming out of different people. So it would be loud, 100 to 140 decibels. If you were walking outside and you were Australian and you had a dog, you thought that people were killing each other inside.
Yeah.
But in the end, that was just a 3-hour visit, and everyone was happy when
It's
they
what we
walked
call
away.
love. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how they used to talk. It was very violent. Even the women would be quiet, just wondering whether it's going to turn into violence or not. But it never did. It never did. They enjoyed it. They did it every week.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
That's what we said. They had their own podcast without a camera back then.
We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it
So
happen.
we're bringing him back.
Fuck yes. But no, Nabil, thank you. I'm pretty happy with that, man. I think
Yep.
I think we've hit a good peak.
Stay safe.
Play on, live your life.
Yep. And we'll see what happens.
Bye-bye.
Catch.